Okay.
Let's patch over to you.
All right. Hello, welcome to our launch party. We have been looking forward to this. A Sliver of Doubt came out yesterday. It takes place in Italy, where my family and I vacationed last summer. We'll be watching our video from Italy and talking about the trip. It's great to have you on here. It has been a while since we've done one of these. I've missed interacting with you. Okay, I want to introduce my family to you. This is my husband, Patrick. Glad to have him here.
I'm here for the free sweatshirt.
And this is my daughter-in-law, Jana Lee. You guys have met her, I know. She's been on here before. And then Austin is in the background running everything. And he said that he'll try to pop on if he can. So, but this is kind of a neat launch party because we went to Italy last summer as a family, and we had a wonderful time. We'll talk a little bit about more about that in a minute. But we did all have a wonderful time, I think, but we'll talk about it. and it was neat to go there with the idea to write a book. And it was as I was there, I was looking around and trying to think, oh, I think I'll put that in the book or that. And as books do, it took a life all of its own. And so we're going to talk about that too. But let me go ahead and say that, let's see, I was making sure I have to have my little cheat sheet here, so I want to make sure that I get all of my points done. I wanted to tell you that we are going to be giving away several prizes tonight. You can kind of see our cool t-shirts here. We've got different ones on, and we're going to be giving away a couple of t-shirts and also some ebooks. And we're also going to be giving away a $10 Amazon gift card. So you will need to be on here to win. And unfortunately, we can't give away any prizes to people who are not in the U.S. So we're so sorry for all of you who are listening in other countries. But we're still glad that you're here with us. Okay, so we are going to get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch the video, and you'll be able to watch it with us, and some of you may have already seen it or parts of it. And then we are going to be talking about it. So first of all, Patrick, tell us kind of your feelings about how you felt about going to Italy.
Well, I thought it was a wonderful trip. I think Jana Lee liked it the most. I think the biggest challenge was the heat for everybody.
Yeah, tell them about the heat.
The hottest in over 50 years, I think, in Europe. And, we're all except for Jana Lee, we're from the southeast, and we're used to the humidity and the heat. But that was pretty overwhelming, I think.
Yeah.
I think Jana Lee got into a little bit more than she had bargained for, but I think we all had a wonderful time. I think it kind of took its own path. I'm grateful that we had Grant with us.
Yeah, so Grant is not here tonight, but tell him a little bit about Grant and how he came to be with us.
So Grant's our nephew, and he speaks Italian, and he lived there for a couple of years as a missionary, and so we were grateful to take him with us so he could make sure we stayed out of trouble for the most part.
And he really did help us a lot. We enjoyed having his company anyway.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
And
had a good time.
He took us to some amazing places and we had amazing food, places that we never would have even known about. So he was able to take us there, but he also helped us out at the airport. We can talk a little bit about that too. But But we knew it was going to be hot, and we knew that we were going at the hottest time of the year. But we intentionally did that because it was summer break, and Jana Lee is a school teacher, so we wanted Austin and Jana Lee to be able to go with us. And so we did not anticipate, however, that it was going to be the hottest in 50 years, you said? Yeah, record-breaking heat. We did not anticipate that.
I don't think we anticipated not having air conditioning in a couple locations either.
Yeah, that was interesting too. Tell us your viewpoint, Jana Lee.
Well, let's start with it was my first international trip. So I had never been out of the United States. Up until I got married, I had never been traveled a lot, so that was different. But the heat was pretty unbearable. We also did not rent a car. We walked everywhere.
Yeah.
and carried ginormous backpacks with us everywhere we went. So that was...
Some of us more than others.
Yes. Well, yes.
She did.
But it was...
Someone did not want to have to lug suitcases, so we packed everything in these big backpacks, and then
Yep.
it was pretty rough, wasn't it? Pretty heavy.
I mean, the cobblestone would have been terrible carrying suitcases also, but the fact that it was on my back and I was sweating the whole time, and I had one on my back and like a bag across me, I just never felt like I was clean ever, because I just would sweat the whole time.
Only for 16 days.
Only for 16 days, yes.
We walked.
Yes.
We walked about 8 to 10 miles a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something
Yep.
that we never anticipated.
Yep.
So we'll get more into that as we watch the video. But first, the comments are up here, and I wanted just to say welcome to all of you who are here. Chelsea says hello, everyone. Denise, it's great to see you on here. Also, Claire, it's great to see you. And I'm sure more people will be joining us and popping on here. So feel free to put in your comments. And so we're going to go ahead and I think, Austin, are you going to fire up the video here?
Yeah, I am.
You probably should say too, though, that in order for them to be entered into the giveaway, they need to comment.
That's right.
So we
Oh.
know that they're here.
Okay, very good. So yeah, you guys all heard that. So yeah, make sure you comment. And we'll be doing the giveaways periodically. We'll stop periodically throughout the video. So let me tell you how this is going to work. We're going to watch the video, and so if you haven't seen it, you're in for a real treat. And then we're going to make commentary on it. So and this is the first time that Janelle has watched it all the way through, right?
Mm-hmm. I lived it, so I didn't watch it before.
So Italy has always been the #1 spot on my bucket list. I have always wanted to go there, and it was just a dream come true to be able to go there. The one thing that had happened to me, I guess it happened about a month before we left. It was crazy. I was making up my bed, and I hit my foot, hit my toe, and it was one of those that it was super painful, but I just thought, oh, it'll be fine. And then I was actually going to go out for a jog 20 minutes later, and I realized that I couldn't even get my shoe on. It was so painful. And so I kind of felt like everything was going to be fine, because it had been about 5 or 6 weeks since this had happened. And I just did not anticipate like what it was going to be like to walk on that, like that many miles. And so
on uneven ground too,
Yes.
like not sidewalks like we're used to.
And your feet swell. Mm-hmm. And so Janelle was a lifesaver. She, I think you looked it up online, didn't you? Mm-hmm. She had, what was it called, KT tape?
KT tape. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what I would have done if I had not had her help, because she taped up my foot, and she pretty much taped it up every day. Like, she was just a lifesaver. And that was the only way that I could stand it. I mean, we were in Naples, or Napoli as they call it, and I just thought, I can't do this. I just can't. You know, it was every step felt like I was just like stepping on a nail. Mm-hmm. And so I was very, very grateful for her help. And yeah, but stuff like that is just stuff that we didn't anticipate, right?
It was an adventure.
Yeah. I thought that I would be able to wear my sandals, because I had these sandals, and I thought, oh, I can walk miles and miles in these. When we were in Rome, I think I lasted about 5 miles. And then Austin and Janelle were at the Airbnb, and so we called them, and I said, hey, when you guys meet up with us, can you bring my tennis shoes? And from that minute on, it was...
Yeah, the rest of the trip.
Yeah, which is hard.
Yeah.
And we've gotten some more people that have jumped on. Genzi, welcome. It's nice to see you. I'm glad that you're here. And Marilou, it's good to see you. And Pat, Pat says that they're going to Europe this summer. Hope to get to Italy. I hope so too, because it was really, really amazing. Diana says, hello, everyone. And Beth says, excited to travel to Italy with you. We paid for our son to go, but we've never been. Oh, that does seem wrong. That might be taking altruism to a new level, right? But the things we do for our kids. So our youngest son and his wife, our youngest son Cameron, and it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Cameron. And we had hoped that they would get to go, but they weren't able to go. But it really was a trip of a lifetime, wasn't it? And Austin, how's it going with that video? Are you? Oh, he's ready. Okay, let's get started. And we'll kind of get him to pause it as we go. But feel free to put your comments in.
And it looks like everybody will get to live the comments with us the way it's set up.
Oh, good. Okay. Fantastic.
Actually, can we pull up on your phone for the comments? That might be easier.
I got it.
So we're getting it going here. Grateful to have Austin's help. Y'all know that I'm hopeless when it comes to technology, so I am very, very, very grateful for Austin. And then as we've talked about, so the book that came out of this is A Sliver of Doubt, and it came out yesterday. So it's fun to have this and to kind of be thinking about the book. And one bonus that I didn't anticipate was how awesome it would be to be able to to revisit Italy in my mind when I was writing. That was kind of neat. So, okay.
Let's do it.
So we're just waiting here to get it up there.
This may sound strange, but one of my favorite aspects of writing is doing the research. When crafting a story and getting in the heads of my characters,
Hold on a
I
second.
get to learn
Sorry.
a multitude of interesting things.
Sorry, everybody. 1 second.
So kind of while we're waiting, let me just ask you guys a couple of questions. So what is something how did Italy surprise you?
I think let me speak for you. You didn't want to go to Rome.
No, I didn't.
You didn't think Rome. In fact, you wanted to go to Florence.
I did.
And I think we were all surprised by how much we loved Rome. Just, there's so much to do. But I don't think any of us were that impressed with Florence. Were you impressed with Florence?
That was like the worst part of the trip.
I think it was. And I don't think it was the heat. I think it was the fact that, I don't know, my thought is that the farther south you go in Italy, and we traveled a lot from north to south, that the food is better, the people are kinder. There's just a better vibe. The farther south you go, from Tuscany or from Cinque Terre on the Italian coastline all the way down to Amalfi. For me, I was surprised. I thought that we would like the Italian Riviera. I thought that we'd really fall in love with that. And it was beautiful.
I did too.
And I thought we would absolutely love Tuscany, and it was beautiful. But I think for me, the farther south we went, the more exciting it was.
Yeah, because even like going to Napoli or Naples, we went there specifically because Grant he served a church mission there, and so he wanted to go back there, and we thought, oh, this will be great, and we'll go to Pompeii, and then
Pompeii was really cool.
And Pompeii was really awesome. And that did end up being our favorite part, I think. Rome and Napoli ended up being our favorite parts of the trip.
I think that going back, I'd spend a lot more time in the small town of Amalfi.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the Amalfi Coast, and everybody speaks of Positano, but I think that Amalfi itself was just a beautiful, quaint little town that's just, you could spend a month there.
Well, let's kind of talk about, so we how's it going?
It's ready.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then we'll
come back.
Okay, we'll come back. Thank you for being patient, guys. We'll get this up here. It is a lot to pull all of this together.
This may sound strange, but one of my favorite aspects of writing is doing the research. When crafting a story and getting in the heads of my characters, I get to learn a multitude of interesting things. It's like I'm living vicariously through my characters to experience a world totally separate and unique from mine.
And I do love the
When
research.
possible, I try to travel to the locations where my books will be set so that I can write intelligently about the characters and do the setting justice. One of my upcoming books in my Honeysuckle Island series will be set in Italy. It was an adventure to go there and immerse myself in the culture and beauty. Traveling to Italy was a dream come true. It has always been at the top of the list of places I wanted to visit. I invite you to journey with me to Italy, but not just as a tourist. I want you to view it through my lens, through the eyes of a writer.
We really like this part of the video. We thought Austin outdid himself with this. It was fun.
Very appropriate censorship.
To do this, you'll need to know a little about the book and series. The title of my book is A Sliver of Doubt. It's up for pre-order on Amazon now and will be released early next fall.
So I'm so
As you
excited
can tell
that
from the
it's
title,
out.
the book will have suspense. Also, it'll contain lots of swoony romance. My main
Also, it's not
character
really
is
quite
Charlotte,
fall,
or Charlie.
Yeah, not
She's
quite
an
fall,
anthropology
but-
student at Harvard. Charlie has a twin brother named Forge. I'm writing his story now. Forge is a bit of a rebel who has a penchant for doing dangerous stunts. Charlie, on the other hand, is quiet and unassuming. Tall and thin with long, silky dark hair, Charlie has a big heart and is a philanthropist to the core. Her goal is to use her prominent family name and resources to help make the world a better place. You may have noticed that the series is called Honeysuckle Island. Charlie is from this fictional island in North Carolina, which was inspired by Baldhead Island. The idea for Honeysuckle Island came about because of a vacation my husband and I took to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina with some friends. We were looking for interesting places to explore. My husband found Baldhead Island, and the rest is history. In this case, I went to Italy with the intent to do research for a Sliver of Doubt. While I was there, I would often ask myself, how would Charlie feel about this? How would an anthropologist view the majesty of Rome or the ruins of Pompeii? Let's start at the beginning. After 16 long hours of flying
Okay, I'll
coach,
just pause there.
we landed in Rome and then took a train and then the metro.
Okay, so let's talk about that flight. 16 hours on a plane going coach. What was that like?
Well, I got sick, so pretty terrible.
Yeah, you got really sick. Tell us about that, because your trip did not start out too well.
My trip did not start well at all. I was totally fine when we went to California, because that's where we flew to, from Utah, West California. And then I don't know if it was the food, because we got food pretty quick into the flight, because it was a little bit later.
Yeah.
And I had to use the bathroom, obviously, on a 16-hour flight. And I don't know if I, got motion sick walking back to my seat or what, but all of a sudden, I was really cold at first, then I got really hot, and then I was like, okay, I'm sick. And luckily, the bathrooms were open.
Yeah.
Because if not, it would have been really bad. But yeah, it was rough. And not getting, the time change and not getting sleep on the plane and worrying about being sick, it was not good. So my introduction into Italy was rough.
Well, and I did factor that in. So when Charlie gets there, I made it hot because I was like, okay, the heat was so, it was just so oppressive that it was like it was its own character. It reminded me how in The Great Gatsby, where that really is its own character. And so I carried that through in the book, and it kind of added a different dynamic because you have this, Charlie is she's usually, quiet and level-headed, and there's one part where the guy that she's dating, August, he says, well, what happened to that level-headed girl that I started dating at Harvard? And she said, oh, she went out the door when the temperatures reached 90. And so that totally, because when we got to Rome, you were pretty sick. You were, and the next morning, because we got in that afternoon, and then we went and got dinner.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the timing, because I think our total flight time, everything was about 16 hours, right? The different flights.
Yes.
And of course that means, 10 or 11 really good hours of sleep for me.
I know. He's disgusting because
we're pretty miserable.
He can sleep. He sleeps as soon as that plane takes off from the tarmac.
But I think it was a lot, because this was your first international travel. Mm-hmm. I think our first big trip was to Hawaii, and that was a little easier for you. But we had trade winds there, and you didn't have that in Italy.
No.
And I think, too, we lost 8 hours of sleep.
We did.
With the time. Yeah. And so it probably took 48 hours to adjust to that change.
It did, yeah.
And
I think it took me 16 days to adjust to that.
I will say that I literally thought you were going to lay down and kiss the ground at Logan Airport in Boston when we got back to the U.S.
I was pretty happy about
The day we were going home, we had to get up at what time do we have to leave our place? 4:45 or something?
Yeah, about 4:45.
Really.
Yeah.
And she was
happy.
So happy that we were going home.
We're going home.
I've never seen anyone so happy. The rest of us are kind of like, oh, we're going home. And she was just beaming. She was so happy.
Well, we say that, but I mean, it was hard, but you had a good time. It was fun
Yeah.
to watch. So we had great food. We had amazing people.
Tell them what you say about going on a vacation with Patrick Youngblood.
Oh, I'm used to like going on vacations where you rest and like have some time to just relax, and that is not a vacation with Patrick Youngblood. A vacation with Patrick Youngblood is, well, the 3 vacations I've been on, 2 of them were let's see every place we've ever visited while we were here. And Italy was let's walk to every place that could possibly be cool. So
Yeah.
they're not restful vacations.
I used to have 2 favorite daughters-in-law.
Yeah.
So
We should keep going with this.
yeah, let's keep going. But I did put all of this in the book because they decided that. So August, Charlie is dating this guy named August, and not to give too much away, but she ends up having to take her ex-boyfriend on the trip too, and it does not go well, and she's got a stalker on her trail, and that's even worse. And so, but August did not want to rent a car, and so they are walking everywhere and taking public transit, and it's super hot. And so I kind of factored all this stuff in, which was fun. And with it being a suspense, it probably was a little bit better that it wasn't restful, because I mean, they're on the go the whole time, and so and it's just really nonstop action. So, but yeah, we can continue.
Can I just say that before we go forward, that there was one redeeming item that got me out of the doghouse with my daughter-in-law.
What was that?
Gelato.
Claire actually asked how was the gelato. It would be my top reason to go to Italy.
And it's a great reason to go.
Tell them our favorite. My favorite was the lemon, or the limone is what they call. Was that your favorite too?
Yeah, that and the strawberry.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was
And we
your
had
favorite?
All of it. All of it. And the pizza. We should keep going, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep going. But the gelato is a lot different. There, it's lighter, and it's not as sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when you're that hot, gelato tastes incredible.
I think it'd be amazing
Yeah.
whether you're hot or not, right? So,
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad you can see the comments. Do we?
Drove to our Airbnb destination in Rome. As luck would have it, Italy was experiencing record-breaking temperatures.
Yeah.
Europe is sweltering under one of its earliest and hottest heat waves on record.
Needless to say, it was muggy and hot.
Yeah,
Charlie
you
was
can
from
tell how hot we
She
were.
would be fairly tolerant to heat and humidity. However, she's a student at Harvard and spends much of her time indoors where it is air conditioned. Like me, Charlie would be hot and sweaty. It was daunting at first to take public transportation. However,
looking forward
trains,
to the public
metros, and buses
transportation.
would become our way of life
But
for
it
the
ended
next
up being nice.
15 days. Let me back up a minute and tell a little about the members of our party. There were 5 of us who went. Me, my husband Patrick, my son Austin, daughter-in-law Jana Lee, and my nephew Grant. It was great to have Grant with us. He lived in Italy for 2 years and speaks fluent Italian.
It was incredible. to have
Also,
him.
he knew his way around Rome and Naples. Back then when we first arrived in Italy, we were met at our Airbnb
That's one of my favorite
by the son of
locations
the
right there.
host.
That's beautiful. Isn't
He
it?
was
City.
super
Yeah.
helpful
I actually
and
put that in the
spoke good
book.
English. We struck up an instant friendship. He showed us around the apartment, which was nice and comfortable. The best part was that the bedrooms were air conditioned.
Yes.
We went out that
was
evening
amazing.
to explore and found a quaint restaurant a stone's throw away. This was my first experience eating Italian pizza. One
It's
bite and I was
amazing.
hooked. Charlie will most definitely be a fan of margarita
You got
pizza.
a little tired of it, didn't
I'll
you?
talk more about this
Did you
shortly.
get tired of it? I didn't.
First, I
could
can
have
tell you about the
Yeah.
language. I asked
enjoyed
Grant
it
to
almost
teach me a
daily.
few phrases in Italian so that I could at least order at restaurants. I was quite proud of myself and asked the waiter what I thought was fairly decent Italian. However, he chuckled and commenced to take my order in near perfect English.
Yeah. People
I
can
learned right
speak
away
English,
that many
can they?
people in Rome speak English. It was a pleasant surprise. After dinner, we looked in the windows of a few shops. All the while, Patrick had to peel my face away from the window. I was
Yes.
going berserk over the stylish
For the
shoes.
record, did you see
I
how
can never get
how
enough
happy and
shoes.
smiling
High
Jenny
heels
was?
in particular.
That's
I
because
saw
there
the
was a
most
camera on me.
adorable pair of red heels. Red happens to be my favorite color. Alas, the shop was closed, and we never did get back that way. I still regret not buying those heels.
I know, it's true.
Before retiring to our Airbnb, we stopped in for some gelato. It was incredible. Charlie is definitely going to be a fan of lemon gelato. From that time forward, every time I got gelato, I would have to try the lemon. It was tangy, not...
So, about this gelato, we went to this gelato shop in Rome, and it was Grant's favorite. I think it was one of his favorites, and it was kind of a neat shop because we learned in Rome that everything, because they've converted a lot of the older buildings, and so really nothing is convenient, and so the restroom is was down like a flight of stairs. And then you go down to the first, I guess the basement level is what it was. And then over to the side, it's kind of interesting because you walk down to this big, huge open room where it looks like they maybe had hold parties and things like that. And then you look over to the side and it's just like this solid glass, and these people are working behind the glass, and they're making the waffle cones. And so the reason I bring that up is because I put that scene in the book, and something really, really crazy happens there. So just heads up, if you're reading that, you'll kind of recognize that.
Kind of sets the stage for that, right?
It does, because it was secluded.
And there's limited access.
Yes.
Right, I think that's the key, especially based on how you wrote it. Because you go down there's a landing and another set of stairs, and
they're kind of these metal rickety stairs, weren't
just
they?
very old historical building, and limited access in and out.
Yeah, so it was kind of neat to be able to add that in.
Yeah, but if you're stuck in there with gelato, it's okay to have limited access.
That's true. Unless you have a stalker. Which most people don't, right?
Too sweet and not too creamy. It tasted more like sorbet. Incidentally, when we got back home, I went to a shop and ordered lemon gelato. Ooh, big disappointment. Not even remotely the same.
It's not.
It was way too sweet and tasted more like cream.
Yeah.
By the time we got back to the Airbnb, we crashed. The jet lag was brutal. We had lost an entire night's sleep. I spent the first part of the next morning trying to figure out how to use the blow dryer that came with the Airbnb in my flat out. Lucky for Charlie, she has long straight hair which she will most likely wear up due to the heat. Yes, I'm going to make the weather hot when Charlie goes to Italy.
I did do that.
How in Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, the heat becomes its own character? That's how it was with us. It gripped us in a tight, sweaty fist the entire time. I'm going to carry that over into Charlie's story. Back to my hair and the Airbnb. I bought an adapter, but as it turns out, I needed yet another adapter to connect my adapter to the wall plug.
Into the story also.
For a while there, I thought I might have to forgo fixing my hair. However, someone, I believe it was Grant, mentioned having seen an adapter connected to the microwave. I was able to use that.
It probably was Grant, because he'd be the only one that knew what to look for.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had a clue.
They have these neatly packaged items that are a little lighter and flakier than melted toast. I wish I could get
we just assumed if we brought the one adapter it would work.
They taste great with jam.
Didn't.
When planning our trip to Italy, we decided that we didn't want to rent a car, but would take public transportation instead. My husband Patrick was adamant about us experiencing Italy not as tourists.
We did not make that decision.
Also, he wanted to make that decision and driving on unfamiliar roads. I have to add in this tidbit because we walked all over the place.
Yes.
On average, we walked 8 to 10 miles a day in the sweltering heat. It was certainly an experience. I was blown away by the beauty and charm of Rome.
We're not going to let him
of Western
forget it.
civilization and Christian culture, Rome is referred to as the City of Seven Hills or the Eternal City. An interesting side note, my husband and I used to live in Rome, Georgia, which is a sister city of Rome due to its 7 hills. My parents used to live in Florence, Alabama. So, on a given day of visiting my parents, we would leave Rome, go through Athens, Alabama, and then on to Florence. You may remember the legend of Romulus and Remus. They were twins who were nursed by a she-wolf. They built a city but then got into a dispute where Remus was killed. Romulus then named the city after himself.
So go ahead and
We
push
started
pause
out our
for a
trip by
second.
going to Vatican City.
So like Patrick was saying, I was not excited about going to Rome. It just sounded like, I don't know, maybe it was because of the gladiators or because it just sounded like a war city or just, a place that guys would want to go. And so I was like, yeah, okay, but it was pretty incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, we could have spent a lot more time in Rome.
Yeah, we really, we loved it.
The Colosseum, Vatican City, the rivers, the hills. It was just a beautiful place.
It's easy to get around, and it is just so incredibly beautiful and quaint.
Yeah.
The first morning we got out, Janely was still recouping, and
I was crying because I was so tired. She did not feel good.
And this girl is tough. Like she grew up on a farm in Idaho, and so it's not often that we see her get upset. And so we knew when she was upset and crying, we're like, okay, she's had a rough time. And I factored that in. That's how Charlie feels. Like her first part of the trip, she's thinking, I sure hope this goes a lot better. And then they go into the Airbnb, and she's really, really upset when she realizes it's not fully air conditioned. But then they go into the bedrooms, and then they're air conditioned, which was nice. Yeah. And we found that a lot. Like I feel, don't y'all feel like that's pretty common, that it seems like that they would like have they would have certain rooms that are air conditioned, and they all have these neat doors that kind of close everything off. So it's very different that way.
Well, and I think that most places don't have air conditioning, but because they have them as an Airbnb, they've installed air conditioning.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Probably
and
so.
And it was excessively hot. That's not typical for even that part of Europe.
I mean, you can tell that the locals were hot.
Yeah,
they were burning up too. So everybody was. Yeah.
We finally found fans in Amalfi because they have, all the locals use like fans.
The hand fans.
And so after we found one in Amalfi, it was a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but a little bit easier.
And she used that fan the whole time.
It came back pretty destroyed.
Yeah.
How much I used it.
And it was still COVID. I guess the restrictions were lifted shortly after.
They were lifted 2 days before we left.
Yes. And
but there were certain areas where they still were in place.
Like on public transit, you had to wear a mask.
Had to wear the mask.
Yeah.
And so that was hard because you're hot and you're humid, and then you're wearing a mask. And so that kind of added to it. Yeah. It was nice not to have to worry about that when I was writing, not to factor that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that almost became a character in its own right.
It did.
It did. It really did.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, we pull back up.
We need to do some giveaways pretty soon.
The Vatican is the world's smallest nation and the only country located entirely within another city. St. Peter's Basilica was impressive. It took over 100 years to build. It's the largest church in the world as far as interior measurement. It's considered to be one of the holiest of Catholic shrines. The stone pillar in the center of the piazza is the one that stood in the Circus of Nero where Peter was martyred. It's now treasured as a witness of his death. From there, we went to a nearby street market where vendors were selling their art and wares. I felt like I was in a movie when walking down the street market in Rome. The trees were big and leafy, and there was a breathtaking view of the river. We saw lots of art about Roman holiday with Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. When we turned onto a street with the houses close together, I was smitten by the beauty. I marveled at the charm of the cobblestone streets, the wooden shutters on the home that were nestled close together, and the vines climbing up the walls. We found a cozy pizzeria on one of the picturesque streets and had lunch there. There were even red and white checked tablecloths on the table. Can you guess what I ordered? Margarita pizza and a salad. Frizzante was a word that I fast learned. It means sparkling water. The frizzante was great. We ordered it every...
Your favorite word?
Frizzante. And I made Charlie love frizzante too. But just, I don't, if y'all paid attention to that little restaurant where we were, I actually set a scene there where they go there and they have the food that we had. It was kind of fun.
Well, it was such a beautiful area because the streets were so narrow and the homes are stacked on top of each other, beautiful, and then you have these little restaurants in every corner almost.
Yeah, it was really fun. And should we do our first giveaway?
Let's go for it.
Okay. Let's do, so I think I mentioned, for those of you who may have tuned in a little bit later, we now have merchandise, which we're so excited about. And so we have these cool
Maybe you
t-shirts.
should show them the t-shirts you're wearing.
Yeah, so we have these cool t-shirts, and it has my name right here, and then on the back it says, Happily Ever After is not just for fairy tales. And so we are going to be giving away one of those t-shirts. So Austin, do you have a way to pick a winner?
Yeah, okay, we can do that.
Okay, so Austin's gonna look and pick a winner here. We're gonna pick a winner for that one, and then what we'll do is.
So is this a winner for the t-shirt?
This is a winner for the t-shirt.
Okay.
So if you will, anybody who wins anything on this event, just email me at jennifer@jenniferyoungblood.com. And if you win let me know what you won, because y'all know how I do. I forget. And so email me and let me know, and then tell me what size t-shirt. And whoever wins this one, send me your address too, so I can get it to you. So.
And they could pick what style, because our shirts are the same.
Yeah, so they're the same, but they're different styles. So
So like mine's a baseball tee, and yours is just a regular t-shirt.
Just a regular women's fit cut t-shirt.
Yeah.
All these shirts will be available on the site pretty soon too.
Okay, yes. So if you want to get more details on them, go to jenniferyoungblood.com, the website. And we're really excited because we have some cool things on there. And Jana Lee has got her spinning wheel that she's doing here. So she's picking someone. So we'll pick someone to win that. And
why don't we keep rolling?
Yeah, you keep doing that, and then I'll announce it.
That sounds great.
Okay, awesome.
Where we went. Next, we ventured over to the iconic Colosseum by way of the Roman Forum, which was at one time the religious, economic, and political center of Rome. As we passed the ruins, I thought of Charlie and how she would be fascinated with the culture of ancient Rome. Grant, our nephew, related how the Colosseum was built using stones and marble from the basilicas or churches that had been torn down. We visited a nearby park so that we could admire the Colosseum from a bird's eye view. The Colosseum could hold approximately 50 to 80,000 spectators. I can't look at the Colosseum without thinking about the violent history of the gladiators and the executions. The Colosseum is the largest amphitheater ever built. We opted to admire the Pantheon, a former temple, from the outside instead of waiting in the long lines to get inside. It's one of the best preserved of the ancient buildings in Rome because it has been in continuous use throughout history. Trevi Fountain. Oh my goodness, I was blown away by the beauty and grandeur of the Trevi Fountain. I knew that the Trevi Fountain would be impressive, but I wasn't expecting something so grand. Wow, it is a sight to behold. Do I dare say that it reminded me a little of Caesar's Palace in Vegas? I guess I now know where the inspiration from the casino came from. The Trevi Fountain was super crowded though. I later learned that the Trevi Fountain is a high pickpocket area. It makes sense, as people are crammed so close together. The fountain was in Roman holiday. I'm going to have to watch the movie again to see it. While I'm on the topic of pickpocketers, let me just say that we went to great lengths before our trip to ensure that our passports, cash, and credit cards would be safe. We purchased belts that we wore underneath our clothes. My belt stuck out a little, making me look like I had a pooch or a flat tire. I cringe a little when I see the pictures. I invested in a travel purse. It was nifty the way the zippers latched, making it difficult to open. Also, the strap was slash resistant. When we were at train stations and metro stations, announcements would routinely come over the loudspeakers, warning people to be aware of potential pickpocketers. One bonus of Rome that I hadn't anticipated was all of the fountains or water filling stations in Rome. The water was cool and delicious, and it was free. All you had to do was go up to a station and refill your water bottle. Water ran from the fountains continuously.
So you want to talk about Trevi Fountain?
Yes, so I thought that was incredible. I was blown away. Like, I mean, I had seen all these things. I kind of did a little bit of research beforehand, and I had heard about Trevi Fountain, and I thought, oh, that's awesome. It'll be this beautiful fountain. I don't know. I guess I was expecting it just to look like a regular fountain, you know?
Right.
And then when you see that, I was blown away. Like, I could not believe.
I think it's one of the most photographed locations in all of Europe.
I think so. And the building, the facade behind it was really a spectacle. It was pretty amazing.
Kind of Caesar's Palace-esque, right? So,
yeah, now we know where
it comes
Caesar's
from.
Palace comes from.
Yeah.
That was, but it was interesting because I didn't have anything get stolen in my book as far as pickpocketers, but that was something that we were really
that was a
worried
hot
about.
spot, right? We had to be really careful. I think mainly because it's just so crowded.
Yeah, it was crowded. I was surprised at how crowded it was. Like, you could not even move. It was so crowded. And tell them about the water. That was kind of neat.
Yeah, you asked me earlier what surprised me. I think one of my favorite things was the fact that we could go and fill up our water bottles anywhere in Rome.
Yeah.
Actually, in lots of areas of Italy, but mostly in Rome, and you know, it was great. It was fresh, good water, clean water,
and it was cool.
Yeah,
it was cool. It was. So we all brought water containers, and it was interesting because I never even thought about it, but I guess, was it Austin that let me use his, but what was that little thing called?
Carabiner.
A carabiner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it Janley?
Janley.
I packed them, yes.
Yeah.
Janley's carabiner.
So you can
See, there
connect it to your
again.
backpack.
She's the prepared one.
She's amazing.
Well, she's used to dealing with, you know, 1st to 5th graders, and she was dealing with 1st to 5th graders.
And it was really nice because we literally could just go fill up our water bottles and just carry them with us and attach them with the carabiners, and so it was great. Yeah. I thought that was. And
I think there were even we didn't participate, but there were areas where you could actually get, you know, bubbly mineral water right out of the same.
Yeah, we
didn't have a
kind
chance to do
of.
that.
Dang it! I wish we had been able to do that.
Yeah.
One thing that we wanted to do that we didn't get to do was go to the Mouth of Truth.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know if y'all remember that. I remember it from Only You, Marissa Tomei and Robert Downey Jr.
But it was originally part of a. What was a classic movie that was fun? Maybe someone will type in and tell us what it was.
If y'all remember the name of the movie, I think it was Roman Holiday.
Probably.
And it was Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck.
That's right.
And we had gone to this little. It was kind of what was it called? It was not a little park, but it was where vendors sell things and.
It was both. It was a big park, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like a big park that people just kind of were walking around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a park like we think of a park.
Not like playgrounds.
Yeah, like it didn't have like lots of big grassy areas that you could go to.
Beautiful.
But
Yeah, it was.
And they were selling all kinds of memorabilia, and a lot of it was about the movie Roman Holiday.
Yeah, especially you're talking about the area next to the river.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was fun.
Yeah.
But and incidentally, they don't get to go to the Mouth of Truth. They plan on going to the Mouth of Truth, but they don't get to go. So I kind of put that little
sounds familiar.
tidbit in there.
all right, do you want to announce the first winner?
Let's announce the first winner.
All right, so the first winner
Is this for the t-shirt?
A t-shirt is Diana Hancock.
Congratulations, Diana. So
You know, we should actually say when she emails you about that she won, give us the preferred size.
Yeah.
yes,
The size and the style.
And the style.
like I'm wearing a small, and in this one, and I probably should have gotten a medium. It's just hard. Sometimes you don't know how much stretch they're going to be. Yours is a small. These I think are a little bit. They're to fit a little looser, right?
They're meant to, yeah.
And so if that kind of gives you, and what size is yours that you?
Well, this is an extra large sweatshirt.
Okay, and
What
you've
I
got
like the
room
most
in
is
it.
the famous name that's on the on the sleeve.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, you know, for better or worse, having my name on it, right?
Well, and I think it's I don't know how it's actually kind of cool that your readers want to have your swag, but they ask for it. So
yeah, it's
that's
an
kinda
honor.
cool.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is. Okay, so should we continue the video? Congratulations,
Let's continue.
Diana. We'll be announcing more prizes too as we go.
Okay, let's put this back on.
It must have been some sort of filtration system. I highly recommend bringing your own water bottle that you can refill. I used a carabiner to attach the bottle to the ring of my travel purse. Remember how I said that I love heels? I practically live in them. I started out wearing sandals with low heels, thinking that I could walk in them forever. I lasted 2 hours. After several blisters, I had to change into my tennis shoes, which I wore for the duration of the trip. I had broken my pinky toe a month before we left for the trip. It was one of those silly accidents. I was making my bed and hit it on a chest. It was super painful, but I assumed it was fine. 20 or so minutes later, I tried to put on my tennis shoes to go for a run and realized how truly injured my toe was. Anyway, fast forward to the trip. I thought my toe was healed, but it started giving me fits from all the walking. My daughter-in-law, Jana-Lee, saved the day. She Googled how to tape up a broken pinky toe. She taped it up, and I could manage after that. I had brought several outfits thinking that they would be cool enough to wear. However, it was so stinking hot that I ended up wearing the same 2 outfits over and over. I'd have to go back to the Airbnb each night and wash my clothes for the next day. One thing about Rome that struck me was how every place we looked was picturesque. The Spanish Steps were no exception. There are 135 steps and 3 different terraces that have reference to the Holy Trinity. The view from the top is exquisite. I'm used to seeing cities that have a historic section, but this was much faster.
So that last image is of the Spanish Steps?
Everywhere we looked was incredible.
Yeah.
Some streets were so perfect that I could almost believe I was seeing a movie set or something at Disney World. We saw several street performers on the trip. Some were better than others. One was incredible.
Yeah, we had Austin turn our mics on so we could talk.
This one was phenomenal.
And I think he was actually a
I felt
grad
like we were
student in the
listening to
United
someone
States that
the
was
caliber
singing
of
on the
Nathan
streets
Pacheco.
as part of his program.
People often talk about globalization.
He was amazing.
I
he
remember
was
having
phenomenal.
a conversation with a dear friend where she remarked that she was glad she got to backpack through Europe before all of the American influence came into play. We saw McDonald's, Burger King, Five Guys, and Subway. I was surprised at the number of restaurants
So
that
that
served
guy's
hamburgers,
backpack was about half
and
the
they were more
size of the ones that I
expensive than the
carried around
Italian
my
food.
front and back.
We could get a big margarita pizza for 5 or 6 euros, whereas a burger and fries were 10 to 12 euros.
Yeah, we didn't want to
Needless
get burgers
say,
and fries.
We didn't have a single
That pizza
burger
looks
during
amazing.
our entire
It
trip.
does. We missed that
The
pizza.
food was the highlight of the trip. Grant, our nephew, made us some outstanding carbonara. The first thing we would do when traveling to a new town was to go to the market. We enjoyed this experience because it made us feel like locals. Once I even conversed
back
with
to my
a store
time in
clerk
Germany,
in
too.
Italian about the cost of peaches. I was quite proud
Although I
of
think the
myself.
food is fresher.
Of course, it helped that I was doing
Hopefully
charades,
you're the
pointing
only
at
fans
the
in
peaches
Germany
and then
that
at the
disagree,
price.
but
Next, we
Amazing
took
food
a
in Italy.
high-speed train
was
south to
amazing.
Napoli. The long-distance trains are very nice and comfortable. It was fun
And
to
they're
look out and
air-conditioned,
see the
which was
countryside
nice.
as we traveled. Because we were traveling
big
from
deal,
city
huh?
to city, Patrick was adamant about me not carrying lots of luggage. Historically, I'm not a light traveler. I like having my clothes and shoes. However, for this trip, I stuffed everything into a backpack,
It was
including my computer,
rough,
which I
guys.
knew I would
Rough
need for
to have to
research.
just live out of a
The
backpack.
backpack weighed 30 pounds.
16 days.
It was so heavy on my shoulders.
For the most part, had
Patrick, being
air
the
con-
gentleman
like,
that he is,
not air
carried his
conditioning, but
backpack
had
on his
washing
back
machine and
and
stuff,
mine
yeah.
on his chest.
which was
He claimed
nice.
that having my backpack on his chest helped to balance out the weight. However, I knew that he was doing it to help me out. I'm
was a
so
gentleman.
grateful that he did. With my injured
Well, that's
toe
why I didn't
and
want
the
you taking
heat,
lots of stuff,
the
because
added
I
weight
had
of the
to carry
backpack.
stuff.
After getting off the high-speed train in Napoli, the third largest city in Italy after Rome and Milan, we took the metro to our destination. We then walked another mile or so to our Airbnb. I loved the charm of our Airbnb. It was located off one of the cobblestone streets in the center of town. We stopped at 2 massive wooden doors with a smaller cutout. The cutout was for people to walk through, and the larger doors were for cars. As we went through the cutout, I felt like I was in a Harry Potter movie. We
So our
walked
mics
into a
off,
courtyard
really?
where we called our host to meet us. The apartment was on the 5th floor. There was a tiny elevator that would only fit 2 people. It looked like a cage. I rode up the elevator with our host, an elderly gentleman who spoke little English. The apartment was impressive with the balconies that overlooked the city. As with our first Airbnb, only the bedrooms were air-conditioned. The kitchen was tiny and stifling hot. Consequently, we opted not to cook while we were in Naples, so we wouldn't heat up the apartment. A funny little tidbit. The air conditioning units build up condensation. Our host was adamant about us making sure to empty the bucket daily so the tenants below wouldn't get drenched. After getting settled in and resting for a short period of time, we ventured out for what Napoli is famous for, the food. Napoli has earned more Michelin stars than any other place in Italy. We wound our way through a conglomerate of narrow cobblestone streets as we dodged cars. With the cobblestone streets and the clothesline stretched across the tight clustered street.
Stopping the guy.
Okay, we had to chime in about the food. Oh my goodness, the food in Napoli was incredible. Didn't y'all think so?
Well, what you mean is the pizza.
You mean the pizza.
in
The
Napoli
pizza.
was incredible.
Tell us about the food. Now, we had seafood one night, which I thought was great. She's like,
I don't like seafood though. And so like I ordered it and I was like, oh, I'll just like pick that out. But everything in my pasta tasted like seafood. So it was not great. But
The food was fantastic everywhere, but the pizza in Napoli was the best you'll ever have.
So Grant took us, I think we had mentioned it in the video, but he took us to this, we walked, like wound around. That's kind of the scene that's up right now is you really I felt like we were in a scene out of the West Side Story, because you have clotheslines, strung across the streets. And there was one part that was so picturesque and it was so beautiful. And Grant's like, it's a good thing we're here right now because you don't want to get caught in this part at night.
yeah.
And we're like, really? It seems so beautiful and safe. But he said, no, it's not. And so we were glad to have him there because he was really, really helpful. We were reading some of the comments, and Wendy, oh my goodness, Wendy had said that she broke her, what is she?
Three toes.
3 toes.
3 toes by dropping a gallon of paint.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts to think about. I am so sorry. Cannot even imagine that. Oh, yeah, it was bad enough.
Don't walk in Italy if that's the case.
Yeah, no. No.
And mine was so silly. I literally just hit my toe on the chest and thought, oh, no big deal. I mean, how many times have we done that, right? But I did a doozy on it. It took it a long time to heal. It's interesting, though, because all that walking, I really felt like when Jan Lee first taped it up, I thought, I'm going to have to go back home and see a doctor. This is not healing. But all that walking kind of was like rehab. I was perfectly fine when I got home.
That was because
I don't think it was the walking. I think it was because you taped it so it could
that
heal.
was thanks to Nurse Janalee.
It was.
I think that it just finally healed.
Because you taped it.
Yeah.
So before you start the video again, so was it Diana that won the t-shirt?
Yeah.
So why don't we show her what the t-shirt's like, if you choose this one. So this is the front. I don't know if you have that, Austin.
Yeah.
And then it has Jennifer's favorites, her saying on the back, happily ever after is not just for fairy tales. So at least you can see.
And this one is the same way, except the
Just two
lettering
different
is
styles.
in white.
Yeah, just
Yes.
different styles.
And we'll
So-
have these up on our site really soon too, so if you want to get one, if you don't win one and want to get one, then you can order it too. So,
Okay, let's keep going.
all right.
I felt like I was peeking into the set of West Side Story. Grant led us to a restaurant that served the best pizza I've ever eaten. I still dream about that margarita pizza. The following day, we took a train to Pompeii, the ancient city buried under volcanic ash during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79. When I was in the 5th or 6th grade, I wrote a narrative essay about Pompeii. It was set on the eve of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. I was in the marketplace and heard a stranger with a strange accent and brisk manner of speech, talking about how the volcano could erupt. The stranger warned people to flee. I listened to him and survived. I ended the essay with, I owe my life to the brisk talking stranger with the funny accent. It was surreal to be in Pompeii after hearing about it all of my life. We looked out to see the blue-gray outline of Mount Vesuvius in the distance, resting its shoulders in a docile and peaceful slumber. It seemed hard to believe that Mount Vesuvius once covered Pompeii in a fiery blaze of fury. Pompeii was much larger than I expected. A wealthy town, the population was approximately 11,000. I was amazed at how much of the city remains intact. you can still see the details of the frescoes on the walls of what were once lavish dwellings. I didn't realize that Pompeii was such a sensual place with the brothels and other various forms of artwork that were displayed in the homes and other areas.
So maybe we should talk about this. So as we were walking into Pompeii, and Janet, you can help me with this. Yeah. Jennifer sees a sign, and it says something about a museum.
And I got all excited.
And being fluent in Spanish, I can read Italian and understand about 80%.
It was in English under it.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes.
And so Jennifer goes, hey, everybody, here's a beautiful museum with artwork. Let's go look at this. And Janet Lee said,
I don't think you actually want to go in that museum.
And I said, why not?
So, well, since you are a writer of clean and inspirational romance.
And it was called the Art of Sensuality?
Yeah.
The Museum of Sensuality.
Yeah. So,
Yep. She also let us, we went into this one place where all these people were gathered. And she's like, "Oh, let's go there." And we walk in, and she's
just
we were in
looking.
line for
we
were in the line for a long time.
What are we waiting for?
We walk in, and as soon as I get there, I turned to Austin, and I was like, "This is quite the place we've gone to with the artwork." And there's a stone bed in one room, and we get through, and she's like, "Wasn't that so cool?" And we're all like,
I don't think you realize where we just were.
Did you look up? Yes.
I did not look up. It was a brothel.
Yeah.
We decided to lead the party after that.
We have to be careful what we say so we don't get demonetized. But yeah,
that is true. I was oblivious. I mean, because I was just thinking, oh, Pompeii. I never really knew the history of Pompeii.
Yeah.
So
we looked up the history after, and
we realized.
But all of that aside, it was pretty remarkable, right? I mean, just the architecture that existed during that time period, the way they lived.
It really was. And it was shocking how much of it is still there, because I think it was out of stone, so it's, I mean, is it friezes? Am I pronouncing that correctly? But you can still see those in the, the artwork that they had, in the walls. And it was really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that was funny about Pompeii was there were all sorts of tour guides there that were telling, in the same location, telling all sorts of stories that probably were not factual. Because there were 3 of them in one place, and they're like, oh, this is what happened here. And another one told a different story. So not really sure what was going on in Pompeii, but
they
lots of different stories.
Yeah, they didn't
But the
know
area
either.
is beautiful and remarkable history, architecture.
It was really neat, and it was very. I think we saw that part, but it was very sobering, because what they've done is
the destruction.
They've done the opposite. What's it called when they've made molds of.
They put plaster inside the cavities that are left in the bodies.
That's right.
Yeah, and so you can literally see
and
the
some of
minute
those stories are just heart-wrenching, right?
Yeah, it was really crazy.
You also have Bernadette is now here.
Oh, welcome. Welcome, Bernie. It's good to see you on here, too. This is like old times. It's been a while since we've done one of these. It's nice to see you guys on here.
I think it's been 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
I think it has.
Yeah.
Should we keep going?
Yeah, let's keep going.
King Francis visited the Pompeii exhibition with his wife and daughter. He was so appalled by the erotic art that he had it locked away in a secret cabinet within the museum. When we first arrived, I glanced over and saw an art exhibit. I was about to go inside when my daughter-in-law stopped me.
This is a story
She pointed to a sign that read "The Sensuality of Pompeii" and suggested that my readers of clean and inspirational romance might not be interested in seeing the video or photos of that exhibit. One of the most sobering aspects of Pompeii was seeing the bodies of the victims that were killed almost instantly by the ash and noxious gases that engulfed the city on the second day of the eruption. Many were trying to protect their faces, and one mother was trying to protect her child. Despite the heat of the day, I found these molds chilling, a stark reminder of the suffering and devastation that comes with a natural disaster. After leaving Pompeii, we ate lunch at an open-air cafe on the main street of town. We then toured a basilica. The carvings on the walls were exquisite, and it was nice to stand in front of the large fans to cool off. The following day, we took a train to the Amalfi Coast. Once there, we boarded a ferry. It's hard to put into words the incredible beauty of the Amalfi Coast. From a distance, Positano will literally take your breath away with its colorful buildings slotted into the hillside. The ferry took us to Amalfi. However, Positano was so incredibly beautiful that we opted to stay on the ferry and go back to that location first. We would then take a bus from there to Amalfi to catch the ferry back. When we arrived at Positano, we got off the ferry and immediately climbed
So much
what
walking
seemed to be an
upstairs.
endless number of stairs in search of a
ton of
restaurant.
stairs there.
It was so hot and humid that we were drenched. The view from the steps was incredible. We got nearly to the top.
Okay, we had to stop it here because Janelle and I had an interesting experience. So we were on the ferry, and we, in retrospect,
Which I didn't eat anything because of my plane experience.
You were afraid you'd get seasick.
I was afraid I would get motion sick, so I packed a few snacks, but like that has to begin the story because it's important.
and so we should have gone to the restroom on the ferry, but we just didn't know, right? And so we get off, and Positano was, I mean, beautiful. You're just like, oh my goodness, this looks like a picture. Like, it's hard to believe a place like that exists, right? And so we got, and okay, it was hot everywhere, but that was probably the hottest because it's coastal.
And the humidity.
And so we get off, and
It was over 100 degrees.
It was.
And the humidity was easily 95+%. So.
And then we walk up these stairs, like, to find a restroom, and it felt like, I don't know how many flights of stairs.
Well, you didn't walk up these stairs. You walked up all of the stairs.
All of the stairs, like 20 or 30 flights of stairs, whatever it was. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Only to find out when we got to the top that the restroom was at the bottom.
At the bottom. Yep.
So we had to go all the way back to the bottom and then go all the way back up to the top.
We made Austin go with us, so he had to also walk all the stairs.
I got my steps in, that's for sure.
And it's incredibly beautiful because you're overlooking the Mediterranean, but it's a little scary, isn't it? Because you're right there. I mean, it's really steep.
And you can see some of that here in the video, just before and after, right, as you look back down.
And I wanted to add that I really, really thought when we were in Positano that I was going to set the book there. And it didn't happen. I didn't end up setting it there. So it's interesting how the story kind of takes a life of its own. But in my story, they keep talking about they're going to Positano next. That's where they're going in Amalfi. Yeah.
But this was another one of those moments of like this vacation being like, what did I get myself into? Because we walked up the stairs, walked back down the stairs. I like ate a snack at the bottom, went back up, and then we just kept walking up and up and up and up and up until we got to the top. And the whole time I was thinking, what on earth did I just do? Like, why are we just walking up all these stairs?
And then these little bitty narrow roads.
And their cars don't, like, they're just driving. They don't even care that there's people or cars coming the other way. They're just going.
But do you remember why we went to the very top?
I don't. I probably blacked out.
Tell us why we went to the top.
To get the bus.
To get to the bus.
Oh, yes,
to the bus
to get to
station.
the bus.
So we could take
And
the bus
the
back
bus
down
was
to,
an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be able to
because-
see some of it, I think, here in a second, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they actually, the roads are so narrow that the buses hit into each other.
Yeah, and they're fine with it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I wish we had had time and the ability to put more of that experience in the video, because we got a lot of really interesting video on the bus,
We did.
and it was fun.
yeah. But that is one thing, too. Like, if you notice all the footage that I'm in, my hair is up, like, completely off my neck because it was way too hot
Yeah,
to,
it
like,
was so hot.
even have it down a little bit. So, yeah, it was rough.
Well, we're going to roll the video again, but we're going to do another giveaway. So Janelle will use her spinning wheel to pick another one. And this one, let's give away a copy of your choice, an ebook of your choice from the Honeysuckle Island series. So if you're new to the series, you can start at the first one. But if you want to, a Sliver of Doubt that just came out yesterday, it's a standalone. So, I mean, the characters interconnect, but you can read it and you'll be perfectly fine. So if you want to read that one, you can opt to win that one too. So did you
let's
pick
roll
it
it.
already, or did you? Oh,
Yeah, I
this
did.
one. This one is Gen Z. Jenzie Wilden. Congratulations, Jenzie. So email me at jennifer@jenniferyoungblood.com and then let me know which ebook you want from the Honeysuckle Island series. That's awesome that you won.
Denise said, I think I would have died going up that many stairs. I almost did.
Yeah. I felt so, her leg was like shaking.
Yeah.
And I asked her.
I'm also scared of heights.
I said, are you doing okay? And she said, yeah. She said, I'm not shaking because it's physically taxing. Even it was, but she was shaking because the height. It was, I mean, you're literally like
hundreds of feet up.
And then you're looking down, like right there, you know. Yeah. And it's just so hot. So it just, everything just is exacerbated. Yeah.
Let's just say that Jana Lee hasn't booked another trip to Italy anytime soon.
Nope. I always tell everybody that I have to, if I know we're going on vacation, I have to like really work out a lot and get in shape because otherwise I won't be able to stand the vacation. And they just laugh and I'm like, I'm serious. This guy has 2 speeds, wide open and asleep.
Okay, let's roll the video.
And learned to our dismay that the restrooms were at the bottom of the stairs. So we went back down the stairs, used the restroom, and then climbed back up. An interesting thing about the restrooms, they cost €1. The problem we ran into was that most people would give other denominations of change, and the machines would only take €1 coins. It was super frustrating. After hiking back up the stairs, we made our way up the winding, narrow roads, past the hotels and restaurants to get to the bus stop. We got on what would be our craziest bus ride ever. The roads are so narrow that the buses actually scrape up against one another. You're on this crowded, hot bus, and you're looking out over the side of the cliff to the ocean below. All you can think is, I hope the driver knows what he's doing, otherwise we're going over the edge. Our driver was nice to the passengers and a capable driver, but he had no problem bawling out the other bus drivers when they came too close to his bus. As we twisted and turned along the road, I was super grateful that I don't get car sick. Positano looked exactly like the vision that I have in my head of Italy, with the colorful houses stacked on the side of the mountain. I'm going to set part of Charlie's story in Positano. Amalfi was equally beautiful with the rows of colorful umbrellas lining the beach. It looked like something out of a picture or movie. After leaving Napoli, we went north to the Tuscany region. Our first stop was Florence. Let me pause here by saying that we had our first hiccup in Florence. When we planned our Italy trip, we knew we were going at the hottest time of the year. However, we wanted our son Austin and daughter-in-law Jana Lee to go with us. Since Jana Lee is a school teacher, the only time she has off is during the summer. Patrick and I grew up in the South. We figured we could handle the heat. Before our trip, Patrick spent a month planning every detail. He searched out the places we wanted to visit and then found Airbnbs that had lots of good recent reviews. As we were on the train headed to Florence, Patrick quietly told me, I just realized that the 2 Airbnbs that we booked in Tuscany don't have air conditioning. My heart dropped. Up to this point, we would brave the heat of the day with the knowledge that we could eventually go back to our Airbnb and relax where it was nice and cool. Maybe Tuscany will be cooler than Napoli, I suggested. With a grimace, Patrick responded, it's supposed to be hotter. We booked a place in sleepy Sesto Fiorentino, a village north of Florence. We wanted a hub situated in a central location so that we could visit Florence and the surrounding areas.
So I asked Austin to pause it because I hope everybody saw the area where Grant is trying to keep from running into the bird. Jana Lee had some pretty interesting experiences. Was that in Florence? That was in Florence.
That was in Florence that happened.
But your experience was at the beginning in Rome, wasn't it? Where birds were trying to bomb you.
Day one, we walk out of I don't even know what it was.
It was it was right before the gelato shop, actually.
Yeah, but we walked out of some place that we went in to see how cool it was. And
one of the cathedrals.
Yeah, we walk out and they have all these birds, that sit up in the top of there, and I walk out and I hadn't been out more than 30 seconds and I look at my shoulder and there's a big white spot on my shoulder.
So no matter where you are in Italy, you need to be cautious for the birds because they're everywhere.
Watch out for the birds.
So that was her. Yeah,
so if you get a chance to go back and watch 30, 60 seconds before where we are now, you'll see Grant kind of ducking because a bird almost ran into him. Now, Florence, the architecture and the art, incredible, right? But it just seemed like everybody was there to rip you off. You had to be careful for that. And
we learned this.
Kind of a dirty city.
Austin and Jenna Lee had done a little bit of research, and we would, everywhere we went, we would see it was pretty much the same 10 pictures.
Artwork.
And they were, I guess, what are they called? They were like a giclée or something, but we would see they were placed over the, I mean, you're just walking, and it's like it's like the road in the
where
walkway.
People are going to walk.
Yeah, and they're going to step on them.
Yeah, it's put there intentionally. Yeah.
And if people step on them, they tell them they have to buy them.
Yeah.
And then we got hassled. We got hassled by a guy that was got very aggressive, and he was trying to get us. A lot of times they'll come up to you and talk to you and give you a high five, and they try to slip a bracelet or something on you.
Yeah, and have you pay for it.
And so one time I was in Rome, and I had been warned about this, so I didn't do it, but some guy came up to me and just held out a rose, and your inclination is to take it, and so then they'll want you to buy it, and so luckily we had, I think you and Austin had kind of researched, and so we. Yeah, but stuff like that was a little bit annoying, and we just seemed to see a lot more of that in Rome. Yeah. I mean, not in Rome, in Florence.
Yeah.
And then also probably where we got off, because I guess we got off the train, right? Where we got off the train in Florence. We had to walk through some pretty rough parts to get to the
it's just busy
tourist areas. Yeah. And so...
I mean, for art and architecture, it's amazing to go see that in Florence, but Florence by far was at the bottom of my list for favorite cities.
Was mine too, and I thought it was going to be my favorite.
Yep. Let's keep rolling.
Okay.
Condition was that our place had to be within a reasonable walking distance to the metro. We had a hard time finding a good place that would fit all of those qualifications. Finally, we had to settle on something. At the time, Patrick and I didn't even think to check to see if it had air conditioning. The place had 2 fans which were covered in dust. They didn't move any air whatsoever. Finally, we resorted to taking them apart and cleaning them so that they would function better. I slept with an ice pack the 2 nights we were there. While we enjoyed seeing Florence, the heat made for a miserable experience. On a positive note, while in Florence, we visited the Piazza del Duomo, located in the heart of the city, which, by the way, is called Firenze in Italian. At first, we were confused as to why we couldn't find Florence on any of our maps, and then Grant pointed out the variation in the Italian spelling. Napoli is the same. It's known by Naples to us, but Napoli in Italy. While at the Piazza, we went to Giotto's bell tower. The highlight was climbing up to the top. It was a majestic sight to look out and see the collection of terracotta rooftops, hugged by the gently sloping blue-gray mountains in the distance. It was at the bell tower where it hit me that I was experiencing a part of history that was as old as time itself. Janelle and I took the opportunity to rest and cool off part of the way up. After I got my second wind, I climbed the rest of the way to the top. The passageway is narrow and winding. It wouldn't be good for someone who is claustrophobic. Lucky for me, I wasn't bothered by the tight space. I just took my time so that I wouldn't trip and fall. When people came up behind me, I just let them pass. The view at the top made the effort worthwhile. The wind felt so good on my hot cheeks. From there, we went to the Dome and then the Museo dell'Opera. The museum was air-conditioned, giving us a chance to cool off. There were so many impressive sculptures here, but the one thing that stood out to me was the reliquary containing John the Baptist's jawbone. There were several other buildings included in the tour package we purchased. Sadly, we didn't realize that most of them closed at 4 p.m., so we only got to visit the ones I mentioned. It was interesting to see the art that was on the ground. Every so often, we would see the same 6 or 7 posters arranged on the asphalt. Austin and Janelle explained that it was a scam, hope that people will step on them and will then say that they have to pay for the poster. We were very careful not to step on any of them. We saw several of these types of scams on our trip. Once, a man tried to offer me a rose in Rome. The normal reaction is to take some.
Okay. Yeah, so that was the part where Grant's trying to avoid the bird.
Trying to avoid the bird, and, he avoids it, and then he has a reflex, and yeah. So we were just talking, as the video was rolling, we were saying you should put some questions in. If you guys have any questions about Italy or anything like that, just feel free to put them in. And I think the part's coming up where I just saw that where I was talking about the rose, where they try to
just playing now.
where they try to give you things, and one thing that kind of happened to us in Florence, we got there. We got there about 2 or 3 in the afternoon or something.
It was just right around lunchtime.
And we went and bought tickets to go see all of these things, but they didn't tell us that everything closed at 4.
Yeah.
And so we were starving, and so we went to see a couple of sites, and then we went to eat, and then when we got out, we started going to see everything.
I think we saw everything except for one. We wanted to go in that other museum that we missed, but
Yeah, and it was closed.
it was closed.
But it was closed.
Something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Also, Cheryl is now here.
Welcome, Cheryl. It's good to see you here too. It's nice. It's kind of like we have our group back together. I've missed y'all. One thing that I was going to mention is that we are going to be doing a giveaway at the end for a $10 Amazon gift card. So make sure you stick around for that too. Mm-hmm. So.
We're getting close. Let's keep playing.
That a person hands you. I didn't, however. I politely told him no and continued walking. Another common scam was for someone to approach and give you a high five. If you do so, they slip a bracelet on your wrist and try to get you to pay for it. A man approached my son and daughter-in-law. He shook Austin's hand and slipped a bracelet on it. Then he proceeded to tell Austin about his child that had been born several days earlier. The man then asked Austin to give him money to help his child in exchange for the bracelet. Austin told him that he couldn't give him money, but that he would give the bracelet back. The man got frustrated, but he played it cool and was polite before moving on to his next target. Early one Saturday morning, all 5 of us were loaded down with our backpacks and walking across a parking lot to go to the bus where we would go to our next location. 2 guys and a girl in their early 20s called out to us in English. Having grown jaded by the scams by this time, we ignored them and just kept walking. They kept pace behind us as we walked. Speaking English the entire time, one of them said to the other, "Those people don't even speak English." We felt sure the group was trying to pull over some scam and figured our best course of action was just to keep walking fast and ignore them. Eventually, when we came to other groups of people, they went their separate ways.
So Luca, I ended up
Remember
setting.
how I said that we booked an Airbnb
I ended up setting the book in Luca part of it too.
Luca was a beautiful town.
It was. I would like to go back there too.
Mm-hmm.
The 17-foot marble statue is a marvel. It's hard for the mind to conceive how Michelangelo could have sculpted this
That was pretty
detail very
incredible,
large
wasn't it?
and lifelike sculpture with limited technology and tools in the early 1500s. The gem of the trip was a quaint town called Lucca.
Yeah, here's where we start
loved
talking about
the
Luca.
steady vibe. There were lots of quaint shops and restaurants. Our Airbnb didn't have air here either. As in Napoli, it was located off a cobblestone street in the heart of Lucca, beside a
book.
restaurant. A wall
about it not
encircles
having
the
air
perimeter
at the
of the
Airbnb.
historic section of Lucca. Very few cars are allowed inside the wall. People either bike or walk.
The bell
Eva, our
towers were
housekeeper and
pretty
concierge, was
incredible.
a
Yeah,
lively
that was
jovial
incredible.
woman
They have
who fanned
a
herself
garden on top
vigorously while
with
complaining
trees
about
and
the
everything. It was really neat.
She explained that she'd stayed out late the night before at a concert, so the heat was getting to her more
Oh,
than
and
it would.
Eva, she made
Showed us
her way
around the
into the
two-story apartment,
book, A Sliver of
apologizing
Doubt.
for the heat. She explained that the owners of the apartment, who
She was
lived in
awesome.
New York,
She was
attempted
awesome.
to have air conditioning installed a few days earlier, but that the man who was going to install it was in the
And
hospital.
I wrote about that too.
I
Where she
felt
says
sorry
that they
for
were
the
going to
poor
have
man
air conditioning
and for
installed.
us. At least this time, the fans worked well. Eva spoke in choppy English until she learned that Grant spoke Italian. She chided him for not telling her sooner. From then on, the Italian words rolled off
She
her
was really
tongue at
lively,
a
wasn't
rapid-fire pace.
she? She was fun.
We made an unusual friend in Lucca, Matisse, a Garfield-sized gray and white cat. Eva warned us that Matisse would climb up onto the roof and enter the apartment if we left certain windows open. She said, "If he gets in, I scoop him up and whoop, put him back out." Sure
put that in there, too.
Nights later, I awoke to the sound of an irritated meow. I went into the hallway and found
Somebody needs to
Matisse.
feed that cat. He's looking
Half
a little
asleep,
emaciated.
I spoke a few common words to him in my syrupy cat voice, and then, boop, scooped him up and placed him outside. As I closed the windows, he pressed his nose to the glass, staring
Syrupy
back
cat
at me.
voice. What does that sound like?
Let's just say Matisse would definitely make an appearance in Charlie's story. While in Lucca, we climbed to the top of the bell tower and looked off. In the evenings, we enjoyed walking along the wall that surrounds the
Yeah,
town.
the vistas up there were just
Every day we got
incredible.
to
was
water
incredible.
at least twice. We found a little shop near our apartment and kept going there.
Y'all
Of
are going
course,
to really
I got
like
lemon every
reading
time.
A Sliver of
I
Doubt
would
because
often
a
get
lot of these
two
things are
scoops
in
so that I
there.
could try other flavors. The dark chocolate was rich, but oh, so good. We ventured out to Cinque Terre for a day trip. Cinque Terre is a collection of centuries-old seaside villages that dot the coastline.
So this little town is where they based the Pixar movie Luca. It's loosely based off the 5 villages there at Cinque Terre.
Which is interesting since Luca's a 45-minute train ride away, right?
Right. I think the movie has. Let's see, is the city has 2 C's or the movie has 2 C's? One of them is.
The city has 2 C's.
Okay, yeah,
It
the movie
does.
has
The city
1
has
C.
2 C's.
To La Spezia. From there, we boarded a train that took us to Cinque Terre. We went on a Friday.
It
and
was really
super
pretty.
crowded,
Yeah,
just
beautiful.
as
I
everyone
thought it was
would
going to be the highlight, but I
Train
really
rides
liked
do all
Positano
kinds of
better and
yeah,
Amalfi better.
Amalfi
Hop
was
on
the
and off
highlight.
as often as you'd like. If I go there again,
I think
during
Cinque
the
Terre would have been
moderate
more
time
fun
of
if
year, would
it
be
wasn't.
fun to
We went
hike
at
from
a
village
low
to
peak
village.
time.
Yeah.
Views of the ocean
was beautiful,
are
though.
spectacular.
But Grant did
On our
get
way
to
back to
swim.
Lucca,
He
we
did.
saw the
He did,
Tower
which was
of
nice.
Pisa from the train. It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. On the last leg of the trip, we stayed in Rome. We were overjoyed that our apartment had air conditioning and all
Yes, that was so nice.
Sweet
Got
relief.
there and crashed for several hours before venturing out for one last trip to Vatican City before heading to the airport to return home the
I
following
think that
day.
restaurant we ate at in Rome, our last
Generally, we
visit
felt
there was
safe
probably the
entire
best,
time
wasn't
we were
it?
in
It was
Italy.
really good.
People were kind and friendly.
I wish we had
Food
filmed the
was
outside of that place. I
incredible.
don't think we
Some
were
of the best
capturing
I've
footage
ever
there.
had.
Yeah.
The only time I felt vulnerable was when we were at the airport returning home.
Now, this is an interesting
Stood in the
situation.
travel line for what seemed like hours after first arriving at the airport. We finally got up to the ticket agent, who informed us in halting English that her screen was showing that we owed money for our tickets.
That was
We
scary.
explained that we'd purchased round-trip tickets through Delta, and so no money was owed. She went back and forth in Italian with the 2 ticket agents on either side of her.
So grateful we had Grant
At
there
one
to
point in the
speak Italian.
conversation, she
Yeah, he
must have
really
realized
saved
that
us.
Some of us can understand a little Italian. My husband speaks Spanish.
Yeah, that's a big
so we caught
realization
about
moment when she
80% of
realized,
the
oh,
conversation.
they understand
Of
me.
course, Grant understood the whole thing. Grant had been standing back and quietly listening the entire time. We told the woman that one of us spoke Italian.
At this point, Grant also had a mustache instead of his full beard, so he was a little more intimidating.
Did he have his mustache? I thought he shaved it all before we came back.
Did he before we came back? Maybe he did before we came back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did he? Did he shave all of it?
He had that crazy facial hair the night before we left, and he shaved it all
He
off.
might have shaved it all off before, but still, he's pretty intimidating when he's just staring at you.
I mean, he's an Air Force guy. I mean, he's a fighter pilot, will be a fighter pilot. Yeah.
Spoke Italian. The man pulled me aside and swabbed my hands.
This really scared
I
me.
didn't think we were going to ever get out of it at this
This
point.
part really
Practiced
scared
in the
me.
U.S. Normally, it only takes.
It's funny because the rest of us got through just fine, but they kept stopping you and stopping you and
I don't know if I
stopping you.
just happened to look
Well,
like
you look-
someone or if I just got targeted. I don't know. It was
You
crazy.
look pretty suspect.
Another nearby station.
I must.
Meanwhile, my backpack, computer, travel bag, and passport are floating away
I
on
was
the
the
conveyor
one
belt.
that they were just
All
going
I'm wearing
to
is
target.
jeans,
Well, it was interesting
t-shirt,
because
and
you
tennis
kept getting stopped. You'd get through
Patrick
one,
grabbed
and
our
they
stuff
stop you
and
Stop
again.
me again. Stop me
ran
again.
away. The
It's funny
agent and
because
another woman talked
Janely and
back
I
and
were
forth
like,
in
we were
Italian
just
for what
tired.
seemed like
It was a long
forever.
morning already.
In
We all were
reality, it
tired,
was about
but we were
10
ahead.
minutes.
Grant was ahead of
Meanwhile,
us
I'm panicking.
because he had to go fight
All
restroom
sorts
really
of
bad, so he was
scenarios
rushing
in my
through as
head.
fast as he could.
I don't
He got through no problem.
I have no idea why they're detaining me. I'm completely at their mercy.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
don't
a
know
very
what it is
scary
about me that
feeling.
they find so suspicious.
Well, I was behind you, so
As I'm waiting for
I wasn't
them
going
to
to
let
go
me
without
go, I
you.
watched 2 or 3 people go through the metal detector and light it up for one reason or another. They dart back and remove various metal items.
It
and
was
then go
sweet
through
relief
without
when we landed
incident.
in Logan
Finally,
Airport
I'm
in
allowed to
Boston.
leave.
Yeah.
It was.
By this time,
I mean, Italy's amazing, but it's just nice to be home.
It was nice to be
use the
home, yeah. It's a
restroom.
great trip,
Grant had
though.
gone on ahead of us after we got our tickets, so I didn't have him to interpret. We got to our
Janet
gate
wants you
and
to
had
take
an
her
hour
back
to
for
spare.
your 10-year
We
anniversary.
left our Airbnb at 5:40 in the morning.
I want to have more than
2 or so
10.
miles to the metro and took a high-speed train to the airport. We were famished, so we got something to eat.
We actually loved Italy. It's just,
Yeah, we did.
I think we would take it a little slower next time.
Austin and Jenna.
But we filmed a lot of beautiful things. It was
Then me,
the first trip.
followed by Patrick.
That's right. We'll have to
Grant
talk about
was
that
off
in a
shopping
minute.
to spend the rest of his euros before boarding the plane. We assumed that he would board sometime after us. After my documents were scanned, I walked past the ticket agents and was going down the walkway to the plane when I was stopped again by security agents.
Yes, again.
That's
Crazy.
After a couple of minutes, they let me pass. Unbeknownst to me, Patrick had been detained by a ticket agent who
Yeah, I
told
didn't know
him
that he had
his
gotten
ticket
detained.
was no good.
They told my
She took
ticket
him
wasn't
over
any
to the
good.
counter,
Like,
typed in
it was
several
good
keys,
5
and
minutes
printed
ago.
a different one. Eventually, we both got on the plane.
It's just a good
Grant
thing I made it
ordered
through,
several
right? I
kidnapping
just
items.
have been the last straw.
I was detained, not once, but twice. Needless to say, when that plane finally took off, we were grateful to
I kept thinking they were going to come on the plane and drag me off.
Getting out was trickier.
I also forgot that when we got to Italy, you have to go through these like you like scan your passport and you go through these like doors.
Turnstiles?
And not the turns, like the door just opens.
yeah,
like
that's right.
It's
Yeah,
like
but it's like a little mini
Oh,
turnstile.
and yours,
I was thinking it was like a cattle chute. That's what I
more
was
like a cattle
thinking. And I like scanned it and nothing happened. And I was like,
It was a sign,
Great.
Janet. They didn't
I am
want you in Italy.
stuck in this cattle chute. Everybody else made it through but me.
And if it wasn't like any other material, you'd feel so claustrophobic because it's like this small glass cattle chute.
Plexiglass stall.
I'm just like standing
I'm
there.
excited to
And
write
finally
Charlie's
this
story
woman
as
comes
I
up
get
just like,
pieces
oh
of
yeah,
my trip.
quickly like just puts you
I
through.
came away with a new appreciation for my car, air conditioning, and for the many conveniences that we have in the U.S. I miss the incredible architecture
We
of
should
Italy,
talk about how
the richness of the culture,
the kitchens and
the
everything,
food.
they were
I
interesting.
learned a few things about myself. I can live out of a backpack for 15 days.
Not very well, but I
spend
can.
15 days wearing tennis shoes, even though I don't like it.
That was rough.
Public transportation is sort of groovy. I like the convenience of it. Rome is amazing. I could go back there and spend a month. Lastly, my nephew taught me how to make a delicious carbonara. One great health benefit came out of my trip. I decided
go for some more
since it's been
carbonara right now.
15
That would be
days,
nice, wouldn't it?
Sounds really
I
good.
should just continue the tradition. I've been out walking 6 or 7 days a week since I've been
We
home.
did. We continued
And I
our
regularly
walking
get
for
on the
probably about,
elliptical
what,
machine.
till it got cold.
It feels good to
Until
be
we
on a
got
good
700 inches
exercise
of snow.
routine. I sometimes get too sedentary with my
We got
running.
snow today, too,
I
guys.
can't wait for you to read A Sliver of Doubt. I suppose I'll have to write the book first. I'd better roll up my sleeves and get to work. Charlie's story is sitting on my shoulder and begging to be told.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was neat. It really was neat to write the story.
Yeah.
And it was interesting how that, like I said, I really, really thought that it was going to take place in Positano because it's so beautiful. But it just didn't happen that way. The stories just take a life of their own, and it was fun to set so much of it in Lucca too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then some of it is in Tuscany, so that was fun. Yeah.
I think we should mention Pisa.
Yeah, Pisa we saw from the train.
So we were coming back after spending the majority of the day in Cinque Terre, and I think everybody was exhausted. We've been off the train and back on the train and off the train, seeing beautiful sights. And by the time we got to Pisa and we were about to get off the train, everybody said, "There's the tower. We can see it. I think we're okay."
Yeah.
So we stayed in the train.
I definitely said that. That was me.
And we just kept going.
We didn't really
So-
want to get separated. They were really sweet, and they said, "Oh, we'll just meet you back at the place." But when you're in a foreign country, it's just better not to get separated. Interestingly enough, so every place we stayed except for one in Siesta Fiorentino. Is that? Am I saying it right? Fiorentino.
Yeah, that's close enough.
She, the lady did not make us scan our passports, but every place else we would actually
Yeah.
give them to them, and they would scan
take a
them in.
picture, whatever.
And this plays a part in the novel too, so I kind of was
didn't
able
realize
to
that.
incorporate that, which was
Yeah.
kind of neat.
Wendy asked if she can get the recipes Or
No, you should share those.
Oh, for what? What's the recipe?
the carbonara.
The carbonara.
Oh, you know what? We will
Yeah, you should
we
do
will
that.
do that. It's actually very, very easy. There is a little bit of technique to it, so we'll have to post that up. I hope that y'all have all joined my romance readers group on Facebook. That is so much fun, and that is actually Jana Lee. She does a lot for that, and she helps. She puts up the post and does a lot. But if you haven't joined it yet, you should. And we'll probably, I imagine, post the recipe there, and then maybe link it to YouTube.
Yeah. Claire asked, other than AC, were the Airbnbs different from houses in the United States?
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that, Claire, because we were just talking about that. Yes, they were a lot different. The kitchens were a lot smaller, didn't y'all think?
Yeah.
I think everything was a lot smaller, but we stayed in some really nice places.
We didn't have, what was interesting in our first one in Rome, and I actually wrote about this one too. I actually wrote the first Airbnb where they stay in Rome is exactly like ours. I just kept it exactly, except the outside I took a little bit of liberties. I think I combined our outside, the courtyard part with what we experienced in Napoli, because I made that little elevator that was kind of like a rat trap, a mouse trap. But
That smelled so bad.
yes, this was awful.
It's terrible.
But the kitchens, there was, instead of a dishwasher where you would expect the dishwasher to be, was a washing machine.
Yeah.
And then they had these, it was kind of nifty, but like the cupboards, they had these slats at the bottom and they were over the sink. And so you put your dishes up there after you wash them and then they just dry and drip down
So
into
it
the
drips
sink.
into the sink and dries out.
Yeah. And we stayed in one place, our last place in Rome, where the washing machine was out on the back, like
The balcony thing.
the balcony. Yeah, and it ate up one of my favorite shirts, the blue shirt that you see me wearing. It got somehow caught, and so it ruined the back of it. But we were trying to figure out like what to wear, because and I thought, oh, the clothes I'm bringing will be fine. It was so hot that probably noticed in the video, I ended up wearing the same like 2 or 3 outfits over and over again.
I think we all did.
Well, I think we did, yeah. But normally I would have had a few more things, but everything else was just too hot. So I'm like, well, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Were there other questions?
No, those are the only questions so far.
I wanted to mention something because Janet Lee talks about how we just go on our vacations. But the truth of the matter is that we do that on our first time trips.
Yeah.
So like if we go back to Italy again, which we will
not
do.
true.
If we go back to Italy
Not
again,
true.
we'll stay in one location and enjoy it. But when we go somewhere for the first time,
No.
we like to see everything.
Not true, because we went to the South, and you've spent a lot of time in the South, and all we did was drive. And you'd be like, this is a house I used to live in, or here's a house I worked on. And I was like, awesome.
Well, that's because we're
And
trying
Hawaii.
to give you the experiences.
We would drive past the beach and be like, we played on this beach. I'm like, can we just stop at that beach for a minute?
He does not. He literally has 2 speeds. Like he goes all the time.
I'm gonna have to redeem myself. So we have to go back to Italy, Jeremy.
Nope.
All right.
Pat asked, how long were you there and how much did you cook?
So we were there.
Total of 16 days in
16
Italy.
days. And we did the carbonara. We did the carbonara twice, didn't we? Grant made that twice.
Yeah, we made a lot of sandwiches.
Yeah, sandwiches
We
were
did.
our favorite thing there.
Well, because the heat as well, right? So
And the
we did-
sandwiches were so good. The markets were amazing. Like we
We
would
should
go
talk
and
about
get
that.
we would go to the market. We'd get fresh bread, and
Fruit
I
and
still
vegetables.
remember questo, which means this one or that one. So I would be like questo, questo, questo. And that was what I knew. And so and they were really nice and. But I kind of learned a few little catchphrases, which I don't remember now. But it was funny at the market. We had one where we would ask Grant because we had no idea what things were. We were trying to find certain things, and so he would have to walk over and say, "Oh, that's a this or that's a that," or And so he would have to tell us all the different things, and he was very, very patient. But we would get a lot of sandwich stuff. Like we got turkey, I think. We got ham and and
We always got the
olives.
fresh bread
Olives were amazing. Their cheeses were amazing, and
Their
we,
vegetables were super fresh.
yeah, we would get like lettuce and tomatoes, of course, were amazing there.
I was just thinking about our last grocery store trip at the market in Rome. And I don't know what about this looks Italian, but I'm standing, do you remember? I'm standing in the grocery store and this little Italian guy comes up to me and asked me where something was. And I understood him. And it's just the way your brain does. I don't speak Italian, but I speak Spanish. So in perfect, fluent Spanish, I responded and said, "I'm sorry, I only speak English." And he looked at me like I had two heads and walked off. And I'm like, why did I just do that? But I think language does that, right? If it's not the language that you're used to, then you go to the other language that you might know. But I love the markets because we got, fresh fruit and vegetables. And
you feel like you're part of just when you go to a market, you see how
if you want to experience their culture or a new culture, you go eat what they eat and go where they go. And
I got this drink looked so good, didn't it? And I thought it was like
it actually didn't look.
To me, it looked so amazing. I thought it was like kefir, the yogurt drink. And so we get it out, and I take a big swig of it.
Well, and she asked Grant, and Grant's like, I don't know. Maybe that's what that says. Like, he'd never seen that before.
It was buttermilk. I got this big thing of buttermilk.
My dad would have loved it.
Yeah. So Gen Z said, this is a question that most people won't ask or worry about. How were the public restrooms? One of the reasons I don't like to travel much. I know I have issues. Haha.
They were actually very clean.
They were.
But
you had to pay for them.
And it was really annoying because when we say €1, like that's all it will take is a €1 coin.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of times where we would go in this one place and this poor girl, I felt she was a tourist.
It was in the train station.
It was, and it was kind of a rural area. I can't remember what area it was, but the man was he was a sanitation worker, and he was being so mean to this poor girl because she was just saying, "Hey, I've got money. I'll pay as much as."
She just didn't have the coin.
She just didn't have the correct coin. Yeah. It's like if it only takes a quarter. And so there were a few times where we really had to go to the restroom, and we couldn't because we didn't have the €1.
Well, I thought it was interesting too because there was one city where they accepted Apple Pay. And so I kept having these €1 payments on my Apple Pay.
Yeah.
Which was convenient. But so to answer the question, though, the bathrooms were very clean.
They usually have an attendant, and that's why they charged the €1 up probably because, someone, when we were in, was it, I'm getting my places mixed up. I think it was either in Cinque Terre or Positano.
It was Cinque Terre.
Was it Cinque Terre?
I think so.
And it really had a lady who...
Yeah, that was...
she was manning the whole thing. Right,
yeah.
And she,
So just take coins. Make sure you have
€1 coins. And, but otherwise, but it was hard. Sometimes, and a lot of places didn't have restrooms,
or they were really hard to find.
Yeah.
They weren't in obvious places.
Like in Positano.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I got that idea in Rome, where it ends up being a huge deal. I don't want to give too much away, but she goes to the restroom, and it ends up being the gelato place that we were talking about, and it ends up being a huge ordeal. And it's because it was so remote.
Yeah.
And so,
Any other questions?
That's the last one so far.
Okay, so it's time for let's do the $10 Amazon gift card giveaway.
Okay.
So Janley's got her spinning wheel here, and so if whoever wins this one and the other prizes, just make sure you email me at jennifer@jenniferyoungblood.com and remind me what you won so that I can get you your gift. And I wanted to ask, has anybody had a chance to read A Sliver of Doubt? And if you have, tell me what you think about it. I know it only came out yesterday, but I know some of you may be some of my beta readers and may have had a chance to read it. But I'm really, really excited for you to read it, and I would love to hear what you think about it.
All right. Our winner is Pat Carpenter.
Pat, congratulations. You won a $10 Amazon gift card. So, just email it, and email me, and I will get that out to you. So, was there anything else that y'all would like everybody to know about our trip?
I kind of wanted to do the mystery, what is it, the science fiction 2000 snarky comments during the video, but I was told to behave myself, so I refrained.
You refrained. We really had an amazing time. It really was a trip of a lifetime. Italy was just as beautiful as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, it really was.
But it has kind of ruined gelato and pizza.
Yeah.
Like
Here.
Here, yeah,
here
that's
in
true.
the United States.
No,
like
you're right.
it's
Yeah.
definitely not the same. We found like one place that
We found one place, and they actually specialize in pizza from Napoli, and
And
it
it's
tastes
pretty amazing.
It
Yeah.
tastes identical. Like Patrick, the first time we went, Patrick was like almost upset because he was like, "This cannot. How can this be so authentic? We're here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and this is authentic." And so, but
Yeah, it
yeah,
was good.
we've been back there a couple of times. The gelato, that's the only place we really found where.
unless you get like sorbetto, then
Yeah.
it's more similar.
But it's still too sweet
It's
here.
still too sweet
Yeah,
here.
it's still too sweet.
But yeah, the food is incredible. The architecture was incredible.
So
too.
Bernie said, "Oh my gosh, so tense. I am loving it. I am only 82% done. I will go back to reading as soon as this is over."
Thank you. I love hearing that. You know, the ending of this one, just warning, is super suspenseful. I kind of found myself getting worked up. One of the reviews that I have seen where the reviewer had put up, I think this was on Amazon or Goodreads, one of the two, and said, one of them said it was a little more angst than she thought, and the other one said that she had a hard time going to sleep afterwards. And I'm like, well, you know, I had a hard time writing that ending because it really was, it's a doozy. Yeah, it really is. But I can't wait to hear let me know, Bernie, what you think about it when you get finished with it. So. Well, guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you for joining us. It's great to be able to communicate with all of you. So hopefully we won't go as long next time without doing another live. So it was really fun. And it was so much fun to have my family members here. This is great. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the evening.